Hello and welcome. So today I'm going to be talking about Ember, and I saw a comment a few days ago asking for an Ember build. So thank you to Khaled. I hope I'm saying that name right. Thanks for the comment. And I had planned on making an Ember video a little earlier, but I kind of decided against it or postponed it, because at the moment I don't really think Ember's in the best place right now. I don't think she's the worst or anything like that, not by any means. But yeah, Hot Mama here could use a little bit of love, let's say. So as I'm going over her build and the choices that I made and why I made them and whatnot, I'm also going to be talking about some changes or tweaks that I would like to see in the future when she gets reworked, I guess would be the word to say. I don't know. But yeah, I'm just going to discuss some changes that I hope that they make in the future to address maybe some shortcomings or oversights that there are with her kit. So let's just kind of get things started here because I got a little bit to talk about. So we're going to be starting with the Archon shards here, and I've got two equilibrium shards, two strength shards, and then one casting speed shard. The strength and the casting speed, those are up to you, but I would highly recommend keeping in the equilibrium shards because she does go through a lot of energy, and you're going to either want the equilibrium mod in your build or you're going to want these equilibrium shards. And because she needs to patch as much shortcomings as she can, I would recommend to just keep the equilibrium in the shards to make room in the build for just more versatile mods, let's say. So these three can be whatever you want, but I would just keep the equilibrium shards. And then for the main build itself, I'm going to go over the mods and the arcanes, and then I'll talk about how all of this interacts and whatnot with her abilities and kit. So, starting off, we've got growing power for the aura, cutting drift in the Exilus mod slot, and then for the regular mods, I've got prime redirection, stretch, prime flow, prime continuity, Archon vitality. We all know why this is here. Blind rage, Precision Intensify, and then Healing Flame. Healing Flame is the augment for her 3, and I will touch on this here in just a minute. For the Arcanes, I've got Arcane Aegis. This pairs with Prime Redirection to have a bunch of shields and to just shield tank a lot. And then when she's shield tanking, or when any Warframe is shield tanking, really, basically invincible more or less, so just really good for her in terms of survivability. And then I've got Arcane Energize here to just go ahead and help us with our energy needs. If you don't have Energize, there is the Belly of the Beast operation that's going on, so I would recommend you to go ahead and run that and just grab you some Energizes just really quick. And then talking about the main mods here in the build and some main callouts. Cutting Drift can be substituted for Prime Sheer Footed if you want it to be. Because of Healing Flame, it does give us Overguard, so you can run Cutting Drift and not hopefully be knocked down too much, but if you can't maintain the Overguard a lot, which this does not give you a lot of Overguard just as an FYI, then you by all means you can go ahead and run Prime Sheer Footed and it'll be fine. You won't be missing the range too much. I just kind of like having the range, so I have it here. And then I've got Precision Intensify here to go ahead and boost up her fourth ability, her Inferno, as much as possible. This is her big nuke, basically, just to rain down a bunch of comments. And yeah, we want this to do as much damage as possible. And then on the damage topic, that's also why I'm running Roar. I'm running this over her 1 because Roar just buffs everything in her kit. And then it even buffs the fire procs that come out of her 4 because it does initial damage and there are also ticks of fire. Roar does buff those as well. So Roar works very well. I get Roar is used in a lot of things, but Roar just buffs damage by a lot. And Ember needs a lot of damage right now. So that's why Roar is in here. And then Roar also has a very interesting synergy with Ember's passive. So Ember's passive is that whenever enemies are affected by heat within affinity range, she's going to gain more power strength. And then Roar can snapshot that basically. So if you're surrounded by a bunch of enemies and then you use something like Fire Blast or whatnot, and you get her gauge up to like let's say 80 or 90, well now your war percentage goes from this 63 to something like 90. So you get a lot more of a benefit from Roar by also using her passive and then just lighting things on fire. So yeah, it's a little nice way to get a stronger Roar and whatnot out of the kit. And then we're going to talk about the healing flame augment here because this goes into both the 3 and then the 2, because this is her 2. I think is where a decent little portion of some of the shortcomings I think come from, because I think it's a really cool design, but I think it needs to be tweaked just a little bit. But with the healing flame augment, this does give you overguard, and this is really awesome, but I think they were really scared to have the overguard rate that you gain be a lot, because she does not get a lot of overguard from this. I know that cap down there says 21,000, but you're not going to hit that. She does not gain that much overguard from just running this augment. So that's why I've had to pair like the shield tanking and whatnot in combination with the overguard gating as well, because it's kind of hard for her to live, and this does help, but not by a lot. And I really wish that they would just increase the amount of overguard that she gains from this augment to go ahead and make her survivability just be a lot better. This also, a part of immolation is that it also gives her a 90% damage reduction, but you don't get to keep it for too long, because when immolation, when that gauge, when that meter is at 90, if it's at 90 for too long, your energy just evaporates. It just goes away. So, and I think that is a little silly because, I mean, she's Ember, she's fire. I think it is a little odd for, like, the embodiment of, like, fire itself to overheat. So if they could maybe tweak this to have some type of, like heat gate mechanic or something, where like if she were to die, she just loses like a portion of her overall heat gauge, or maybe they like increase the heat gauge or make multiple heat gauges or something like that. I think that that could work out to be a little bit better for her, and then Fire Blast can just pull from those heat gauges to fully strip armor and whatnot, which is something that's really good about Fire Blast with Ember, is that when she is at that 90%, Fire Blast does fully strip armor, so that does help a lot with all of the nuking that we need to do. So, yeah, like, all in all, like, the pieces are here, and she can be a really strong Warframe. I just think that DE needs to spend, like, 10 more minutes or so and just, like, leave her in the oven and just, like, let it cook, because it's here. Like, I can see a really good Warframe, but I just see a lot of maybe design oversights that just make it be very, very hard for her to, do damage and to survive and to just, have a good bit of fun. But the build that I have, this does work, and this works very well, and this is what I've been using. And this will be the main build that I'm going to show off. I did also play around with a little bit of a gun runner build. This I wouldn't recommend too much. It wasn't too bad, but given all of the other just very, very strong weapons platform warframes we have, I don't really think that that's Ember's calling. If you want it to be, more power to you, I guess, but this is what I would run. If you do want to do this, I would not go and just grab an arcane hotshot just for this build. I don't think it's worth all that. I would maybe take out the prime redirection here for something like catalyzing shields and leading more into just shield gating and overguard gating, just having that as like a combination, and then just rolling guard to just cleanse the statuses and everything. I'd probably lean a little bit more into that itself. But overall, like, this wasn't too bad. It's just there's just a lot of other just great weapons platform warframes that, like, this just doesn't feel all that great. And I just largely focused on just, raining meteors down like, Imadara. So this is the build that I've had the most fun with and the most success with. So this is going to be what I show off. And then talk about the companions here just really quick. I'm going to be running Death Cube for the energy because, as I mentioned, she is just a massive energy hog. And this is my build for Death Cube. And then this is the weapon that I'm going to be using. If you do not want to run Death Cube, or if you happen to, like, let's say, remove Blind Rage and you throw in Transient Fortitude or whatnot, I'll show I would say running the Panzerwolf Befiler would probably be like a really good option as well. This way that you can just spread a bunch of viral and then just get a bunch of damage that way too, to just have a bunch of viral stacks. So here's a little Panzer build that you can use if you don't want to run Death Cube, and then here are the claws. While running this was also pretty good too. I just like having the extra energy from Death Cube. It's just a little bit more comfy for me. And then moving on to the weapons, I'm going to be running the Tenant Galaxion for the Debilitate, just because of Roar, and then Debilitate being just a bunch of status damage. Roar does help with all that, so it makes this be just way, way stronger. Granted, this is already strong at a base. It's just that Roar just makes it have like ludicrous damage, which I think is pretty funny. But yeah, this is what I'm running for the primary. And then for the secondary, I am running the Lex Incarnon. Here are the evolutions that I chose. And then I'm running the Lex Incarnon because I want to run secondary fortifier. So this is another layer of survivability. I can't stress enough how kind of fragile she feels. But this is... I picked the Lex because I wanted basically a pocket problem solver to just go ahead and take care of Eximus or any enemies that I just don't want to deal with. And this is what the Lex does, and this is what it has been doing for me for Ember for a little while now, and it actually works fairly well. If you don't want to run secondary fortifier, that's more than fine. You can, of course, go ahead and run anything like Merciless or Deadhead or Flare. You know, run whatever secondary arcane that you'd like, but I'm just going to go ahead and run the secondary fortifier to just go ahead and like remove a bunch of overguard and then add it to Ember. And then for the melee, I am rocking the Okina. This too is also an Incarnate. This I'm largely just using for the movement. Here I'm not going to be using this too much in the survival mission that I do. And then the build for the Okina is just a standard melee influence, not really shattering expectations or anything, just your normal influence build on the Okina Prime. Just normal business. And then I'm rocking Zeneric as my school for, again, the extra energy. I cannot stress enough how much energy she needs. So let's go ahead and run this survival, and I will demonstrate how all of this basically comes together. All right, here we go.
And the enemy calls for a song.
Go ahead and start getting some energy.
They have just shut down all systems.
All right, and then we want to just go ahead and get the 2 going, then the 3, and I don't have it. Oh, there we go, and then there we go. Get a little bit more. There we go. Death Cube proccing. There we go. Give me my energy. Then 4. Alright, so that didn't do a whole lot, but I also didn't strip their armor. So let's get some more energy. Whoops, I turned off my gauge. Whoopsie. Let's go ahead and build this up a little bit. Gotta spam my 4 now, so I can build up my gauge back. There we go. You want to try and keep your 2 active as much as you can. There we go. Even though I've got all of this energy restoration, it's still a little tough to keep her energy up, really. Do this. Use Roar. Do this. Okay, here we go. So now I've got 90 basically at max, and then you can see my energy doesn't start going down all that much, but if I just kind of leave it here, it'll start to go down by quite a bit. So that's when you want to use the 3 to go ahead and just strip all the armor. And then when the armor is stripped, you can go ahead and then just use the 4 to just nuke them. And then I'm back at the full 90, so full armor strip. Then the 4 to just destroy everything, and that's kind of the loop, more or less, is to just get the immolation up to 90, and then just play a game of, you know, it being at 90 for as long as you can kind of tolerate it without it just kind of zapping all of your energy. Then you can see there I'm at a 95% roar, which is really great with her passive. So And then you can see I don't get to keep the overguard, really. Oh, I'm lucky if I get, like, a couple thousand overguard a shot, if you will, whenever I use the Fire Blast. So, yeah, I really hope that they just... I feel like if they gave her just a lot more overguard, that would just make her feel a lot, like, safer. But as you can see, I've been using the Fire Blast a good bit, and I am nowhere near that 21,000 cap that it was talking about. Let's use this, and there we go. Like, see, like, this can work, and this works, like, fairly well at times. It's just a lot of micromanaging, I feel like, for not that much payoff. And it honestly sucks, kind of, because I really like Ember, and I want all this to be good, but this is a little rough. Granted, that being said, like, this can work, like, if you just want to run this in, like, base steel path and just have a good time, yeah, this is fine. You know, I wouldn't say that this is going to, you know, like, be, like, the best thing in, like, the circuit or, you know, like, a prime pick for anything, but if you're just looking for, like, a fun old time, I think this is fine. Like, she's more than workable. It's just, I just want her to just be a little bit better. And I feel like she can, and I feel like it's there. It's just, DE just needs to put a bit of time into her, and they've got other Warframes that are getting buffs and need to be reworked at the moment. Kind of like Nidus, although Nidus, I think, was in a similar boat to Ember a little bit. So, yeah, hopefully, I can't wait to see how Nidus's buffs go, because they look pretty good. And then hopefully Ember will... Oh, great, violence. Actually, let's get our little problem solver. Boop, 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 go away. Yeah, one nice thing about the Fire Blast, though, is that it does remove the Acolyte's armor, which is very nice. So that helps. This is me just using the Lex. And this is just the raw Lex. This isn't having, like, a damage increasing, like, secondary arcane. This thing just does this much damage. Like, it's really good. That's why I've got Fortifier on it, because I don't care if I miss out on the damage. It already does a lot to begin with. Get this up and going. 99% roar. That's what I'm talking about. But, yeah. Hopefully they do a little bit of something with Ember, because, like, this as it stands, like, isn't bad, but I think my problem is I can see where this should go, and I can see, like, how good she can be, and I think that's why I'm just kind of, like, pushing and hoping that she gets these changes and whatnot, because, like, I can see it, and I hope that DE makes those changes or whatnot in the future. But, yeah, all in all, like, she's fine, she's fun, but, you know... does need a little bit of a tweak up. Does need some extra, you know, love from DE and whatnot to just be like a really, really great Warframe. All right. Well, that is the video. If you stuck around to the end, thanks for sticking around. I hope you learned something, and I'll catch you later. Peace.